Welcome to episode 4, Getting Started with ChatGPT. We will move from a first question to a reusable workspace. The lesson begins with conversation, asking, reviewing, revising, and using a result. It then explains the current screen, dictation, answer controls, and the difference between a focused chat and a continuing project. The purpose is to help you control the work rather than memorize an interface. This episode marks our transition from AI concepts to direct application. We have defined AI and learned to choose capabilities by purpose. Now we will use ChatGPT as a working environment. The skills developed here, clear requests, review, revision, and continuity, will support prompt writing, the CRED framework, practical applications, and the later design of AI agents. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to do 3 things. You will turn an unclear idea into a clear request, review a response and improve it, and decide when continuing work belongs in a project. These outcomes matter more than remembering where every button appears, because the interface may change while the underlying workflow remains useful. The basic work cycle has 4 stages. Ask for the task you need. Review the result for accuracy and usefulness. Revise the request by naming the change you want. Then use the result only after it meets your standards. A strong result often comes from a short conversation, not from trying to write one perfect command at the beginning. ChatGPT works through conversation. A one-shot command asks once and accepts whatever appears, which often produces a fast but incomplete result. An iterative conversation adds inspection, clarification, correction, and improvement. A follow-up request is not evidence that the first request failed. It is a normal part of turning a general draft into work that fits a specific situation. This screen shows the main working area. The left side provides access to conversations, projects, and other functions. The prompt box in the center is where you explain the task and provide material. The purpose buttons beneath it are examples of possible work, not required steps. Use the screen as an entry point, choose the work, provide direction, and continue based on the response. A question, a request, and a revision serve different purposes. A question asks for understanding, such as explaining a customer persona. A request asks ChatGPT to produce something, such as 3 personas for a product. A revision improves an existing result by specifying a change, such as making one persona more realistic and concise. Recognizing these 3 actions makes the conversation easier to control. The prompt box supports more than typing. You can attach files when the work depends on documents or examples. You can type a request, dictate text, or begin with voice when speaking is more natural. The important point is not which input method you choose. ChatGPT still needs a clear purpose and enough context to understand what should be done with the material. Dictation is useful when ideas come faster than typing. Speak the rough idea without stopping to edit every sentence. Ask ChatGPT to organize the dictated material into a cleaner draft. Then compare that draft with what you intended and correct anything that changed the meaning. Dictation saves time at the capture stage, but the final wording still belongs under your control. Here are 3 practical uses of dictation. A spoken sentence about a delayed delivery can become a professional email. An informal explanation of a pay raise can become a structured speaker note. A quick list of product ideas can become a prioritized action list. Speak naturally first, then request the structure, tone, and format the situation requires. Revision requests turn a first result into your result. The first product description on the left may sound generic and impersonal. The follow-up request on the right identifies 3 exact changes: retain the facts, rewrite in a warm tone for first-time buyers, and keep the copy concise. Effective revision names what should stay, what should change, and who the result is for. The controls near an answer support different actions. Copy moves the result into another document or application. Retry generates another version when a different approach may help. Feedback signals whether the answer was useful. The additional menu opens other available actions. Button positions may change, so learn the purpose of each action rather than depending on a fixed location. Do not confuse an answer with a finished deliverable. ChatGPT may provide raw material, but a person must edit it with judgment, format it for the intended medium, and test whether it works in the real situation. The value appears when the answer enters your workflow. Generation is the beginning of that process, not the final stage. Screen locations can change after updates. A feature may move, an icon may be renamed, or a new menu may appear. The work logic remains stable: identify what you need, locate the action that supports it, and continue with review and revision. Learning the workflow makes you adaptable to interface changes instead of dependent on one screenshot. The left sidebar organizes access to your work. It may include a new chat, previous conversations, images, projects, research features, and settings. The exact list depends on the current version and account. Use the sidebar to return to continuing work or start a new task, but do not treat every item as something that must be learned immediately. These sidebar items answer different needs. New chat begins a separate conversation. History helps you return to earlier work. Projects group continuing conversations and reference material. Tools open specialized capabilities. Choose the item that matches the need in front of you. Exploring every option at once usually creates more distraction than value. Chat and project serve different kinds of work. A chat is best for one focused question, a quick draft, or a task that can be completed in one conversation. A project is best when work continues over time and depends on related conversations, files, instructions, or repeated outputs. A project is not automatically better; it becomes useful when continuity creates value. Use a chat for a focused task. Ask a clearly scoped question, create a draft such as an email or outline, and improve that result within the conversation. The task should remain understandable without a large collection of background files. A chat is often the fastest choice when the work is limited and the context is simple. Use a project when the work continues. Add relevant files, keep related conversations together, record standards or instructions, and develop a consistent body of outputs. The project helps preserve background material so you do not need to rebuild the same context every time. It supports continuing work; it does not remove the need for review or responsibility. This table applies continuity as the deciding factor. A one-time translation fits a chat because the task is self-contained. Weekly content planning fits a project because ideas and materials accumulate. A single product question may use a chat, while course development benefits from a project containing files, standards, and revisions. Choose based on how long the work must continue and what context must be preserved. A vague request can be improved with 4 details. State who ChatGPT should act as, what it must produce, what files or sources it should use, and how the result should be delivered. These details reduce guessing, but they are not rigid boxes that must appear in every message. Include the information the task genuinely needs. A project turns repeated conversations into a workspace. Conversations preserve decisions and development. Reference files supply stable material. Work standards define how output should be created. Outputs become a growing collection that can be reviewed and reused. The workspace becomes more useful as relevant context accumulates and remains organized. A continuing project can support a consistent role. Without a project, you may need to repeat background information, rules, examples, and format requirements in each conversation. With a project, that context can stay together and improve through continued work. This is a foundation for role-based AI support, but it is not automatic autonomy. The user still directs and reviews the work. 4 elements make a project useful. History shows what has already been discussed. Files provide source material that should remain available. Standards explain how the work should be done. Outputs show what has already been created. Organize only what supports the project's real purpose. A crowded folder of unrelated material can make the work less clear rather than more capable. Conversation history and reference files play different roles. History preserves decisions, questions, revisions, and reasoning, which supports continuity. Reference files ground the work in product facts, policies, examples, or course materials, which supports accuracy. History explains what changed, reference material helps establish what is true. Both need active management. Work standards and outputs complete the structure. Standards define the audience, tone, process, constraints, and quality expectations. Outputs store or connect drafts, tables, plans, and final deliverables. Standards guide the work before it is produced. Outputs provide evidence of what was produced and what still needs revision. Name projects by subject or by role. Subject-based names such as AI course development work well when the content defines the boundary. Role-based names such as content planner work well when a recurring responsibility defines the boundary. Choose the naming method that makes future work easiest to find and continue. Avoid vague names that provide no clue about the project's purpose. Plan your first useful project with 4 decisions. Write the project purpose and the continuing work it should support. Identify the reference material that should remain available. Record the standards that should remain consistent. Define the outputs the project should help create. If the work will not continue or does not need shared context, begin with a chat instead. Start with one real task and improve it through conversation. Open a new chat, ask for a useful output, review and revise the result, and create a project only when the work will continue. In episode 5, we will strengthen this process by learning how to write better prompts. The QR code opens the Amazon page for the optional English companion guide.